Hey everybody, it's VaultFox. Welcome back to my channel. Sorry if you see, there goes Aries. And for this week's video, I'm going to be walking you all through how I create my cosplay breakdowns. In case you didn't see the most recent video in this series about planning a cosplay, I will be working on a Liara Tassoni costume for hopefully taking to Dragon Con this year. We'll see how everything pans out, if it's going to be safe for us to go. But that basically leaves me with 3 months in order to plan, make, and hopefully finish this thing. So once you've got a cosplay and a character that you want to cosplay, you might feel like you want to just dive right in and just get started no matter what without any kind of planning, and believe me, I have 100% been there. While you totally can do that, I do recommend starting off with creating what is called a cosplay breakdown, which is essentially, when you get down to it, it's really just a long checklist of things that you need to either worry about on the costume or need to further research on the costume, and it'll just help you kind of go into the costume a little bit more prepared and hopefully alleviate a lot of frustration for yourself down the line. A cosplay breakdown is at its core just a checklist, but don't let that fool you. Getting your ideas out on paper, whether it be actual paper, a Word document, or in my case, this program called Notion, is extremely valuable, and it'll help you get your creative juices flowing. And it has the added benefit, in my case at least, of reducing the anxiety that you might have or might be experiencing whenever you're starting to tackle a new project, especially if you're brand new to making cosplay. So let me get my iPad, and yes, I have a green sticker on it because green is life. To put on the glasses I can't see. Fun fact, I usually don't wear glasses in videos because it usually creates a glare, but I'm using natural light today, and hopefully there isn't a glare for you. So I'm on my iPad, and I'm going to be using this app called Notion, like I said earlier. Notion is just like a free-to-use tool that you can essentially use to make your own kind of databases of information to keep things in your life organized. I use it for YouTube scripts, and I organize a lot of other crap in it, like what video games I want to buy and what video games I played and things like that. But you can just as easily use something like Google Docs. You can use a piece of paper, but again, I'm just going to be using Notion for this purpose. So in Notion, I've already got a page created for Liara's cosplay breakdown with some reference photos that I got on the left, and on the right is where I'm going to start taking these reference photos and start cross-referencing it and writing out everything I see on the costume that I'm either going to need to make, to buy, or research more about. And don't worry here if you have no idea how to make something at this stage, because that's probably going to happen if you're new especially. Just write everything down that you see on the costume that you're going to have to make at some point, and we'll cover like breaking it down further on in the video. Alright, so now that I've got my list of most of what I think I'm going to need on the costume, I'm going to be breaking each of these costume pieces down into every step that I'm going to need to accomplish to make a finished piece. Again, don't worry too much if you don't know how to make it. If you don't know how to make something, we're just going to add a checkbox that says, let's research how to make it. For example, I have this headpiece checklist here, and it has all of the steps necessary for taking a blank headpiece that I purchased to a fully painted latex appliance that I can then wear and become Liara with. But I didn't know all of these steps before I made this checklist. I had to go and research that. So what I had done, and I had done this previously, this was a couple months ago, I basically went onto YouTube, blogs. I just searched for Liara Tassoni headpiece tutorial, or even just, you can even kind of make it even broader. So Liara Tassoni is an Asari, so I looked for Asari headpiece tutorials, and I was mostly finding how to make them, and I toyed with the idea of making a headpiece myself, but it ended up being like way too much money. So I ended up being really lucky and able to purchase a blank headpiece from Snakecraft is Magic, which I will link down below for you guys. And on the flip side of that, if I didn't know how to, get the headpiece from, beginning to end, I would just write underneath the headpiece, research how to make it, or research where to buy it from. And that would be that, and I would come back to it at a later date once I've gotten done with all of my research. So hopefully that makes sense. Now I'm going to just break down all of the armor bits of the costume, as well as some of the other pieces like the bodysuit. And each of these armor pieces is going to follow a similar breakdown of steps, and this I do know from experience because I've just made so many things from foam, and specifically this exact set of armor before with my FemShep armor, and this is why you see me referencing patterning from that armor in my checklist. Again, if you don't know these steps to make your specific thing, I encourage you to YouTube and Google the crap out of it, because you don't need to reinvent the wheel here. I'm sure somebody has made something similar to that thing that you want to make. So you can also see that I've decided to not make the bodysuit because, one, I know that that's something that I can get away with and not having. I know that the armor will look cool enough without having the fancy bodysuit. I know that wearing Under Armour underneath the armor looks fine from my FemShep cosplays. Two, just my time frame, and also a little bit of money. I know I would have to go purchase some, you know, new fabrics, and I just don't want to do that right now. I'm just gonna do Under Armour for now, and if I want to upgrade it in the future, then the option is there for me. And there we have it. I've got a completed cosplay breakdown that didn't take me long at all. I think this whole thing maybe took me 30 minutes at most, and that's mostly because I'm recording it. But with every piece of the costume broken down into more manageable chunks, it just feels a little bit easier to tackle. At least I hope that it does. Now that you're done with your breakdown, you probably noticed that you were also kind of trying to figure out in your brain how to make certain things, and you were also getting the creative juices flowing and thinking about like, oh, I could buy this certain piece, or I could maybe learn how to make this. And that's kind of the beauty of making a cosplay breakdown. If you're anything like me, you've probably got a million ideas that are going on through your head at the start of a project, and it really helps to get all of those ideas down onto paper or a Word document just so you can allow those ideas a place to live. Once I have this breakdown done, I usually use it for things like researching specific materials. For example, on my specific breakdown, I've got a lot of pieces of armor that I'm going to need to make. So this will help me in recognizing like, oh, okay, I'm gonna need to go buy some foam, and also it'll help me to kind of gauge how much foam I'm going to need, because the entire costume is basically foam. I'm gonna need about 3 to 4 rolls of 10mm foam for that. And in that same vein, I like to use it whenever I'm out cosplay shopping to make sure that I've got all the supplies I need whenever I want to go into a crafting session. And having this cosplay breakdown also helps me for future planning the cosplay project, so that I can kind of like reverse engineer everything and make sure that I've got all of the pieces done by the due date that I have. And I'm going to be going over that in a later video where I talk about how I use a program called Trello, which is a free software program that I use to basically chart where everything is in the life cycle of my cosplay project. I use it a lot for YouTube and making sure all my YouTube videos are on track in terms of filming, editing, and all that stuff. And it really comes in handy whenever I'm trying to make sure my cosplays are on track, even though it may not seem like my cosplays are on track. So look out for that video coming soon. As always, guys, thank you so much for watching, and I want to know what you guys are working on. Make sure to leave them down in the comments below for me, and I will catch you guys next time. Bye! Sure, you've got all of your profanity filters set, because you're gonna find some weird stuff if you're Googling certain characters. And we're gonna get some pictures. We're gonna get some reference photos of the character that we want to cosplay. Do not exercise restraint here. Just get as many as you possibly can, because trust me, there will be a photo that you're going to miss, and you're going to miss a detail. It's totally fine if you don't completely get every detail right on your costume. I'm just saying, for the best results and the best way to feel prepared about a costume, get as many photos as you possibly can.